everyone, welcome back. This is your teacher Judy again. I hope you're enjoying the novel Number the Stars after you watched the video from last time. Okay, so a little bird told me that some of you are a little bit confused about the literature circles worksheets, okay, which is why I'm going to be talking about it today. Okay, so basically the literature circles is a way for people to get into small groups like they would usually sit in circles, and that way they can discuss literature, a specific book, or some chapters focusing on the roles that they play. Okay, so as you can see in the files that I share with you, there are 5 different roles, there are 5 different worksheets, but there are more than just 5. Okay, but we will be focusing on these 5 today. Okay, so the first one is the discussion master. Okay, so as you can see, discussion master is basically a person in the group who will be thinking of some questions for people to discuss. All right, but remember, these questions should be in-depth questions. Okay, so for example, let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so these questions, of course, should be related to the reading, and you also have to make sure that your questions are interesting and open-ended. Okay, so what does that mean? I mean, you understand what interesting means, but what is open-ended? Open-ended means there's no one specific answer, no one correct answer to the question. Okay, so like don't ask questions like, when did World War I start? Okay, or when did World War II end? Okay, don't ask questions like that because it has a specific answer. Okay, I want you guys to think of questions that can help your group members answer questions or look at the questions from different angle. Okay, so everyone will have different answer to the questions. Okay, so for example, focusing on author and you or on my own questions. Well, you might be like, I don't know what that means. What's author and you? Okay, so basically these 2 types of questions are also open-ended questions. They do not have a specific correct answer to it. Okay, this is something called QAR, but if you don't know about it, don't worry about it. Okay, so basically author and you questions are you want to ask questions related to the author. Okay, so for example, you could be asking questions like maybe at the beginning, or maybe you were halfway through the story. You might notice that you might notice that the author is very good at creating expense or surprises, right? Okay, so perhaps your question could be, how does the author create suspenses or surprises, and how does it make you feel? Okay, so that could be one of the questions related to the author, or you can also ask questions about why do you think that the author find it important to write a story about the situation that happened in Denmark during World War II. Okay, all right, so that's author and you, or author and you questions. And the second part is about on my own questions. So on my own questions, once again, are questions that you have to think on your own, and there's no correct answer to that question. You cannot find the answer to the question. You have to think about it, and it's related to your own experiences if possible. Okay, so for example, you can say, well, in chapter 9, chapter 9, Anne-Marie was very upset because somebody lied to her. So why do you think that she was upset? And you can also ask, when would it be okay to lie to someone and why? Okay, or maybe reading toward the end of the story, you could ask a question about, why would young people join the resistance during World War II? Wouldn't they be afraid? Or you can ask questions related to that, like, would you join the resistance if you live in Denmark during the Nazi occupation? Why or why not? Okay, so these are questions that can invite your group members or yourself to think more about the story and also about your opinions. Okay, and that could get into more details or to help you engage more with the story. Okay, all right, so as you can see, let's get back to Discussion Master. So the worksheet will show you, these are just some of the examples. So remember, you have to write down the question and also your own answer as well. Okay, so if you finish up this worksheet, there should be at least 4 questions and 4 answers. Okay, all right, so that's the first one about Discussion Master. Now we will move on to the next one called Illuminator. Okay, so let me share this with you. Illuminator basically means to illuminate something means to make something clear. Okay, that's to illuminate. So an illuminator is somebody who tries to make things very clear to other people. Okay, so your job is to find some passages or some paragraphs that you would like to read aloud to your group. Okay, and these passages could be interesting, funny, or puzzling, confusing, or even important. Okay, but you need to write down why you chose them. Okay, and what you want to say about them. Okay, so you have to choose at least 4 passages from the text. Okay, so you can write down whether it's from chapter 1 to chapter 5 or from chapter 7 to 12, something like that. Okay, all right, and here's a chart here. So possible reasons for picking a passage to be shared aloud. So you can circle some of these. Okay, so let's look at these real quick. So good dialogue, if there's a good dialogue, you can circle that one. If it's well written, it's written very well. Or it sets a mood, like we mentioned before. Perhaps for some of you, reading this novel can make you feel kind of nervous or makes you feel, what's going to happen next? Oh my gosh. Okay, so that could set a mood, right? Okay, or it could be shocking, surprising, funny, confusing, things like that. And to show characterization means while you're reading the story, that can show you what kind of personality traits this character has. That's to show characterization. Okay, so perhaps maybe reading about Kirsty, you will feel like, I wonder what kind of, I can see from these passages that the kind of person she is, because she's a little girl, she's like, 5 years old, things like that. Okay, but you can still get to know them because of the way they act or the things that they say or the things that they do. Okay, all right, and next one, figurative language, is basically comparing something to something else. Okay, I'm sure you'll learn a lot in Chinese literature. You say that, oh, Judy, you are as beautiful as a flower. Okay, that's figurative language. Or you can say that, Judy is a flower, something like that. That's figurative language. Okay, all right. So just kidding, not a flower. A flower that's withering for sure. Okay, next one is thought-provoking. Okay, so thought-provoking means it's an adjective, meaning that it could get people or readers to think very deeply about something, or especially what the author is trying to convey. Okay, that's thought-provoking. All right, so here you can write down your names and numbers, book title, chapters, depending on which chapter you want to focus on. And then, so let me give you an example here, like chapter number 1. Okay, don't forget to write down the page number and also the paragraphs. And then the quote. Okay, so for example, you want to quote the first, the entire passage of the entire page of page 2. Okay, then that would be really long, right? So one thing that you can do is maybe just write down the first sentence and then dot until the last sentence, and write down the last sentence. Okay, but if it's just a short passage, you can write down the whole thing. Okay, and then after that, you can explain why you picked this passage. Okay, make sure it has to be in complete sentences. Okay, so you can use some of these adjectives that we just learned previously. Okay, you can say, well, the reason why I picked this passage is because it's thought-provoking. Okay, all right, and then next one is, what does this passage mean, or what's happening? So this part here, you need to explain in your own words what is going on, or what does that mean or imply. Okay, and then the last part is, what does that passage make you think of when you read it? So this is you trying to make connection with this passage or the story. Okay, so once again, write in complete sentences. Okay, so you can pick out 4 passages. I only have 3. Okay, never mind. Either way, just write down at least 3 passages. Okay, all right, so that's about Illuminator. And then let's move on to the next one, which is summarizer. Okay, so summarizer is basically a person who summarizes something. Okay, I'm sure you've written or read a lot of summaries in the past. Okay, so this is maybe a little bit too easy for you, but if you really truly don't know how to write a summary in English, okay, this is something that might help you a little bit. Okay, so make sure that you list the most important key points and important highlights, the most exciting things. You have to include them, right? When you're writing a summary, you can use these order words to show you the time order, like first, next, after that, finally, at last, things like that. Okay. And also, it would be a good idea to write a sentence to make predictions about what might happen next. But if you're like, I'm basically writing the prediction for the entire book, then do I still need to write a prediction? Well, I think you can still write a prediction, right? Maybe you can write a prediction about what happens to Anne-Marie or Ellen later on and things like that, okay? All right, so these are some very simple questions or sample questions that you can ask yourselves, okay, like what kind of details I should include, okay? So if you are still confused about how to get it done, there are some key points that you can write down perhaps that can help you. Okay, so previously last semester, well, it should be last year, right? We were reading A Long Walk to Water. Okay, so about Nia and Selva, so you can write about, like what happens to them. Okay, so and then the following is a sample summary that you can read. Okay, and pay attention to the words that are underlined. These are the order words or transitional words to help the story, to connect better with each other. Okay, and also you can look at the rubrics. This is about the summary and the prediction, and then how you can get 4 points, 3 or 2 or 1, things like that. Okay, so once again, you can write down the title of the book and the score you think you deserve. Okay, so after you finish writing your summary, you can write down, I think I did a really good job. It's detailed and full, and I always use full sentences with important key points, and then I made logical predictions and things like that. Okay, so I think I deserve 4. You can write down 4. Okay, all right, so this is just a way to help you write down the summary. Okay, and the key points, you can write them down here. Okay, and then start with your summary writing. Okay, remember, it's not about writing everything. Okay, you have to try to include the important details. Okay, all right, so that's about summarizer. And then next one, I would like to talk about Illustrator. So illustration, right? So basically an illustrator's job is to draw pictures. Okay, so you can pick one scene from a part of the story that you want to draw. Okay, it could be just one page, or maybe just one paragraph, or it could be like the entire chapter. Okay, either way, you can draw a picture. Make sure it's colorful and has important details. Okay, if you want, you can also draw to the other side of the page if you want. Okay, and after you're finished, don't forget to include these information like book title, chapters, or pages and things like that. Okay, and also to include 30 to 50 words to explain your drawing. Okay, so basically you have to explain what you are drawing. Okay, all right, so you don't need to write a lot, just 30 to about 50 words. And so write it over here, and this is the space where you can draw your beautiful, awesome pictures. Okay, all right, moving on to the last one will be vocabulary wizard, or you can call it word wizard. Either way is fine. Okay, so this is probably not as difficult because I'm sure you would do this something similar when you're studying English. Okay, so basically you just have to keep track of important words in the story. Okay, remember previously when we were talking about how to read English novels, we mentioned that it is a bad idea to stop and look at every single word you don't know, right? Okay, so we're not saying that you need to, start looking up every word in a dictionary. No, we just want you to, if after you're finished reading, maybe there are a couple words that you want to remember, like some of the verbs maybe are used very vividly that you want to learn how to use it. Okay, so then you can write them down. Okay, so for example, skitter, this is from a previous, from a long walk to water. Okay, so write down the page and also the paragraph, and then write down the definition, like what that means, and also from where, okay, like from Cambridge Dictionary, things like that. And also, don't forget, if you're not done there, you also need to try to use the word in the sentence. Because remember, when we try to memorize a word, okay, a lot of times we try to memorize how it's spelled and what it means in Chinese, but we thought that's done, right? Especially like right now, you have a very thick vocabulary book, right, that you just got this week, okay? But that doesn't mean that, if you memorize the word, how it's spelled, what that means in Chinese, then you're done. Actually, you need to know how it's used in a sentence. Okay, whether you use it in conversation or you try to use it in a sentence, it's very important that you use the word, because when you use the word correctly, that's when you actually know how to use that word. That means that it has really become your vocabulary, right? If you only memorize words but you don't use them, that's not your vocabulary, okay? It's just a word, some knowledge in the book, okay? So make sure that you try to make a sentence using that word, okay? All right, so, and then you can keep track of them. You don't have to fill it all up if you feel like, it's kind of an easy book. I don't really see there's a lot of words that I need to write down. Then, just write down a couple of them. That should be good enough, okay? All right, so let's have a quick review. Okay, so we talked about discussion master, right? Okay, so you need to come up with good questions, and you also need to write down your answer, okay? And we also talked about Illuminator, okay? Your job is to find some passages that you find worth sharing, and then you write down where they are and why you picked this passage, and what does that mean, and what does it make you feel, okay? All right, that's Illuminator. And then also we have Summarizer. So your job is to write a summary, okay? And from which chapter to which chapter, that would be your own decision, okay? And next one is Illustrator. Okay, so an illustrator's job is to share one scene or one part that you find very interesting, and you try to draw a picture. Make sure it's colorful, okay? Make sure you add some color to it. And then last one is the vocabulary wizard, or we call that word wizard. Okay, I think this part should be pretty easy for you guys to understand. Okay, so that's pretty much what I would like to talk about today about the literature circles worksheets. Okay, so if you have any questions so far, or while you're working on these worksheets, you have any further questions, you're always welcome to ask me. I'm your teacher, Judy, or you can ask your English teachers, and we will be very happy to explain very clearly whatever questions you have. Okay. But if you choose to do other things that's listed here, let me share with you guys real quick. Okay, so toward the end, I would like to explain very briefly. This is not the only, so literature circles worksheets is not the only thing that you need to do. Okay, there are other things that you can do as well. Okay, but they have to all be done in English. Okay, so such as if you want to write a summary plus reflections, it has to be in English too. Okay, or if you want to compare a movie or a different novel with a number of the stars, it also has to be in English. All right, or you can do a presentation. Previously, I wrote 10 to 15 minutes, but then later I was like, maybe we can make it a little bit shorter. So 6 to 15 minutes tops, okay? So you don't feel like you're under so much pressure having to speak English for so long. Yeah, and then there's no limits to as to how many slides that you need to make. Just make sure that, it's up to at least up to 6 minutes, okay? And also, I know some of you guys are very good at making movies or videos, you can also make one related to the novel Number the Stars, okay? And next semester, we will have some kind of movie or film fair, for you guys to participate in, okay? Or if you're like, oh, I'm really into drama, maybe I'll come up with some drama and then I will be acting in it. Well, you're welcome to do that too, okay? Or I know some of you guys are very artistic, you enjoy drawing a lot. You can also draw a picture, not just like an Illustrator, but it has to be more detailed, okay? And you also need to write down about 100 to 150 words of English explanation about why you draw this picture, okay? It could be like oil painting, watercolor painting, or you can make a sculpture if you want. Or you can, I know you guys are super creative. You can also do any other ways of creative presentation that you want to do. It's related to the novel Number the Stars. Okay, so that should be that, and just pay attention to these things that we write down. And once again, if you have any questions, you're always welcome to ask us. Okay, all right. So that's the end of my presentation for today. Okay, I hope you are enjoying yourself, and then it has helped you clarify some of your questions. Okay, all right, until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.